This episode is way overdue. Welcome to The Growth Concept. I'm your host, Keone Upton, where my mission is to empower growth through real conversations. This is going to be a new branch on The Growth Concept, and this branch is going to be called Authentic Growth. And essentially, the mission for this new branch on The Growth Concept is to share my own journey, experiences, lessons, successes, and most importantly, the failures. And the reason for this is I feel that, especially viewing the media these days, there's a lot of BS out there. For example, there's a lot of the end result portrayed. For example, you see that guy in Los Angeles in his Ferrari, you see that person that with X amount of whatever, but you don't see the sacrifices, the process they have made to get to that end goal. And essentially, the mission is to share my journey in the most real, authentic, and honest way possible so you can learn and start applying things I've learned to your own life. This episode, I'll be going deep into unpacking how I discovered podcasting was for me and how the media business came into my life, as well as a bit about what I actually do, introducing myself properly. Let's get into it. I am an electrical apprentice. I'm a third year coming up electrical apprentice, and I am the founder of Growth Concept Media, a media company that helps businesses and personal brands tell their story, share their story, their mission, and establishing this on social media for leveraging the platform for growth. Because people connect with stories. People connect with people, not products or services. Essentially, my mission is to capture that for them. As well as hosting the podcast, I'm also the president of a Toastmasters club and studying social media marketing, new business, and entrepreneurship. All of them I'm extremely passionate about, which adds to the fact I haven't been burnt out yet that I'm aware of. And I think the reason is because I'm doing something I enjoy. I hope you get out of this episode is the framework I had to develop to discover podcasting was for me. And you can pick and choose and apply it to your life so you can find your next big thing. I went through a 5-step process of discovering podcasting, and I'm going to walk you through each of these 5 steps in a real authentic way and an actionable way, and questions you can ask yourself to discover these 5 steps. But before we get there, let's go back in time. Year 10 Keone, I was all over the place, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I have to say I'm still on that journey. But I was surrounded by people that weren't good for me. I was doing things I shouldn't be doing, and I was going down a really dark path. But that all changed when I was introduced to a new environment. This environment was simply a change in workplace. I was then surrounded by people a lot older than me, and I was asked the question, what legacy do you want to leave? What person, what man do you want to become? And what value do you want to add to this world? And as a young individual, I had no idea. And after months and months of having these real conversations with people, introducing myself to new people, I gained confidence and clarity, and that compounded over time and flicked a switch to where I am now. So essentially, the podcast came from having real authentic conversations with people. I was working a cafe job, and I would introduce myself to people that I had no idea what business or what they did. And these conversations build up my confidence and courage to keep going. And during these conversations, it sparked my interest that I love connecting with people. I love networking and communicating. And that's where the podcast foundation came from. But it wasn't just an idea like that. My last year's diary, the 4th of June, 2024. Those of you who are watching this podcast can see this important date. Podcast idea. And I was in a work car when it all clicked. After months of reflecting, asking myself super hard questions, and brainstorming what I truly loved, it flicked the switch. I was in the work car on my phone, looking at my notes, answering these questions. Okay, I had what I enjoyed, communicating. I love authentic conversations. I love helping people. I love networking. What can I build to fulfill this purpose and my enjoyment. And I was like, oh, a podcast. And I was in a work car when this all happened, and the tradie looked at me and was like, dude, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I just came up with a really cool idea. And from there, it was execution time. I knew what I wanted, but I wasn't sure how I was going to get there. This came with a lot of research on what equipment, what ideas, topics I was going to talk about, and my niche and my why. And that's the important part. Step one was identifying my natural strengths. What are your natural strengths? For example, mine were communicating, networking, and having real connections with people. But it didn't come easy. It came with a lot of trial and error in my life. For example, in school had a very negative impact on my life, I have to say. With going through school with dyslexia, I struggled to fit in. I always saw myself as an outlier, and I was portrayed an outlier when it came to tests, so that I needed extra help reading and writing. And this took a toll on me. After years and years of this, I graduated school with a piece of paper and a lot of limiting beliefs. And I strongly encourage you, if you have a learning disability or a barrier which you think you have or you have, search the positives of it. This is the first thing I did coming out of school, and it changed my life. I then discovered that I was great at pattern recognition, communicating and connecting with people, sharing my ideas. And that was something that was untapped in school, which I really don't know why. And that was my strength, communicating, networking, and I really loved helping people and having these connections with people. That was my natural strength. What are your natural strengths? Here's a couple of questions I asked myself to identify this. What is it you do that when you do it, you lose track of time? Time just vanishes into thin air. It's like you sit down for half an hour and all of a sudden it's been 4 hours. Where did that time go? That is a good green flag for you to pursue what you're doing, because that shows you that you're in flow state. You're embedded in what you're doing. That's something you're passionate about. Another question I asked myself is, what do I love doing? What do you love doing? In your free time, what do you do other than scroll through TikTok and Instagram? Is it reading? Is it writing? Is it sharing stories? Is it creating content? Identifying this will allow you to build that framework, that foundation that you can build from going forward. Another great question to ask yourself is, what are you naturally good at? Is it you're naturally confident? Is it naturally you're good at mental math, reading, writing, so on? This could be very personal to you, but identifying what you're naturally good at is something you're meant to pursue. For example, I'm naturally good at communicating. I was born very confident, and that's something that I pursued because I was naturally great at. And this is something that school doesn't teach you. School doesn't teach you how to utilize your strengths for growth. In my opinion, school just taught me how to be very average at a bunch of things, then be very absolutely a weapon at one thing. And you can outsource the rest. Like, for example, I'm developing a website at the moment. I don't have time or any idea how to do that, so I'm just outsourcing it. Yeah, you got to pay someone, but while he is building my website, I can then focus on my business, my podcast, my study, so on. And that's something also to consider in what you're willing to commit to. Don't be afraid to outsource. It could change your life. Step 2 of the process I went through to discovering that podcasting and business was for me is be honest about your weaknesses. And this is a hard conversation to have, I have to say. I struggle with it personally. For example, I'm not great at reading or writing. I struggle getting my ideas out on paper. And that's something I knew I wasn't great at. So I knew there's luckily resources out there which help me with that, getting my ideas out and wording it better. But identifying what you're naturally not great at is a great skill. It allows yourself to put ego aside, and that way you can build on your strengths, not focusing too much on your weaknesses. And even that, for example, communication didn't come easy for me. I still had to learn the foundation and the basics of a public speech, giving a presentation, facilitating a conversation. Doesn't come easy. You got to learn, adapt. You got to be open-minded. You got to put ego aside because you don't want that to get in the way. Identifying your weaknesses is so essential. A couple of key questions I ask myself to identify mine is, what scares you or overwhelms you the most right now? Is it reading? Is it writing? Is it math? Is it English or anything? What is it for you? And another great, interesting question I ask myself is, if I developed that skill, would that enhance what I'm doing or slow me down? Does it align? For example, I knew one of the skills I needed to develop was communication. And I knew if I developed communication, it would enhance my podcast, my business, and will thrive me in life, because then I can present my ideas, ideologies to people in a way they're more likely to understand and relate and have a deeper connection with. Step 3 I tapped into is what lights me up. What is it you do that when you do it, you lose track of time? Like I was saying earlier, what is it you love to talk about? Examine that in yourself. Ask this question, especially when you catch up with friends or mates or family. What is it? What conversation just takes you to the next level? It's like, yes, I want to talk about this. I could talk about this for ages. This is a great way of visually seeing what you actually enjoy, and vice versa, what you don't enjoy, what you hate to talk about as well. It's also another good thing to take note of. Identifying this will allow you to build that framework and narrow your niche down, and with it being very overwhelming, you specifically know what you enjoy. Another great question to ask yourself is, what feels effortless or natural to you? Is it something that, is it editing? Is it speaking on camera? Is it presenting? Is it writing? Is it being creative? Really ask these questions and you'll see patterns. You'll see patterns in what you enjoy and what you're good at and what you're naturally good at and your weaknesses. You'll see patterns. And eventually these patterns will align and you'll find something that you want to pursue. For me, it was podcasting. Step 4 is look for a gap in the market. And this is very overwhelming, especially when you're not 100% clear on what you want to do. But for me, I realized that there wasn't much guidance for young individuals or individuals in general going through massive changes or challenges in life in an authentic way. And with having all these authentic conversations prior to the podcast, I've had so much growth from these conversations. If there was only a way to capture these conversations as I'm growing from them in a way that I can share it to the world, to share to you, that's my mission. And that is part of my why that stems from the podcast and my business, is sharing stories, connecting to that next level. People buy from people, not products or services. Great questions to ask yourself on what exactly is your niche, is what's missing from the world? Is it something in your industry? Is it something in the community? Identifying this will enhance and narrow down your target audience, which you're trying to target. Another question you could ask yourself is, could you offer a solution that others need? And this is very entrepreneurial thinking, but it is overwhelming, I have to say. I did struggle with answering these questions for so long, but it all comes down to what you enjoy. Because what you enjoy, you can then apply that to other aspects in your life and help other people develop a particular skill, product, service, whatever you're pursuing. It's great to consider that. How can you find your next big thing? After all, this is probably what you tuned into this podcast episode for. Finding your next big thing. Step 1, we spoke about self-awareness. Identifying your natural strengths, your weaknesses, your challenges, and asking yourself these hard questions on what truly fascinates you. Asking these questions will allow you to build that framework for step 2, which is experimentation. Experimentation's big. I went through so many trial and errors on finding my thing. I was going to get a sales job because I love to communicate with people, but that fell through. And then podcasting came up, and it wasn't something I just knew from the get-go. It's something that trial and error, research. Oh, that idea didn't work. Okay, how can I enhance it? And eventually it led me to the podcast. I strongly encourage you to take that first step. Start that personal brand. Start vlogging, start blogging, start editing, start something. And you never know, it could be the one thing that is stopping you from achieving your goals. Or if you adapt that, will help enhance your goals and take yourself to the next level. And not being scared of failure as well. With personally coming out of school and entering the real world, I was scared to fail. I was scared to disappoint people, and I'm sure you may be in the same boat as well. But keeping in the back of your mind that if you're everyone's favorite, you're no one's favorite. You can't be everyone's friend. People are going to diss you. People are going to talk smack about you behind your back, but do their opinions even matter? Like, seriously. Do they know you? They probably don't. And this is something which was a mental barrier of mine, on being afraid on what people are going to think, say, or what may come out, or the consequences of starting this podcast. And there was a framework I followed, which I'll present to you, which changed the whole direction of the podcast. From hovering over delete button with all my podcast episodes ready to be deleted and to pack away my dreams, this framework pushed me through and is now helping me achieve so much more. The third step is your market research, knowing your niche, knowing who you're going to target and tapping into that market. Knowing that from the get-go will save so much time and energy. Strongly recommend doing some research in whatever you're doing. Step 4, take action. What are you waiting on? It's you versus you right now. What are you waiting on? What is stopping you from taking action? What is stopping you from starting that artwork channel? What is stopping you from sharing your ideas, beliefs, or challenging people's perspectives? What is stopping you? This framework will help with that. This is Simon Sinek's Start With Why. This isn't something that I came up with, but this framework is so personal to your own thoughts, beliefs, and your side business which you're going to start. Start with why. For example, my podcast, my why is to empower growth through real conversations by interviewing experts in their fields, capturing these conversations all on one platform. That's my how. And then the what, the Growth Concept podcast. That's where I'm presenting these conversations. This framework will help you so much. And those mornings where you wake up where motivation's lacking and you're like, what am I doing? This is such a stupid idea, Keone. What are you doing? Just do what everyone else is doing. Yes, these are conversations I've had with myself. And with that framework, I constantly reminded myself on why I'm doing the podcast. I love to connect with people. I love to help people. I love seeing people grow. And I love to empower growth through real conversations because that's where I came from. Honest, real, authentic conversations. And that's what helped me lift off the ground. That's what helped me pursue my business, pursue the podcast, pursue my studies, and being a president of a Toastmasters club. It all has meaning. It all has purpose. And that's one thing with entering the real world is the job you're doing, whether it's a 9 to 5, you're studying. Why are you studying that? And you realize that maybe it's not your dream, it's someone else's. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with as well. And it's been hard being like, oh, maybe being an electrical apprentice isn't my calling in life. Maybe it's bigger. But that's a conversation for another day. So identifying your why, how, and what is a great framework to build on when entering a new idea, hobby, business, or side hobby, side hustle as well. That way you're moving with purpose. I got a couple of amazing questions which I want to answer on the spot. The first question is, how do I stay motivated? This question I had to think about because I'm doing so much. I'm studying. I'm president of a Toastmasters club. I'm hosting podcasts. I'm trying to grow and scale my business. I'm working full-time, 9 to 5. How aren't I getting burnt out? How do I maintain motivation? It's done with purpose. And as cliche and general that sounds, is I genuinely mean that. I love what I'm doing with the podcast, the business, my media, and the public speaking journey. There's purpose behind it. And I think that's strongly lacking in today's world, that you hear a lot, I want to start this business. I just want to make money. I want to get into crypto, do this, do that. Why? And that will be your motivation, whether that's to become the best version of yourself possible, or to make your family proud, or to challenge yourself in a way you've never experienced before. Identifying this why is so essential to motivation, and this is the only reason why I've woken up every morning, gone to the gym at 4:30 in the morning, kept going with my motivation. My momentum is because I worked from my why onwards. Another great question I got was, during my podcast, do I ever get mind blanks and don't know what to say? Absolutely. This is something I am still trying to develop. And this skill is facilitating. Facilitating is presenting your ideas in a conversation format where you and the person share beliefs or values to an idea. It's that flowy conversation feeling, which is what you want in a podcast, but it doesn't come smoothly at all. There was times where I absolutely forget the question I've asked the guest, and they go, "Oh, what was the question again?" And I'm like, I forgot. And your mind just goes blank. But one technique that has helped me navigate this a bit smoother is putting the question back on them. In the sense of forgetting the question, there's no help there. But when you have that silence for a bit, asking them, what are your thoughts on that? Why did you think that way? Using the why, how, what format is a great way as well. On like, what are your thoughts? How is that going to affect people, or going deeper into that? And this will stem into other conversations, other beliefs as well. And you'll get to that deep section, the juicy stuff that you love to hear, the deep, honest, vulnerable part of a podcast. That's the sweet spot. But that comes with trial and error as well, and failing hard and getting back up. I cannot stress this enough, that it was scary getting into podcasting. And some of the key challenges I've had to face with hosting a podcast is figuring out how to manage people. This is something that doesn't come straight out of the box. You can't go to Kmart and just buy How to Manage People book and be a weapon at it. Trial and error once again. Knowing how to say no as well is extremely powerful when it comes to guests people reaching out to you, and sticking by your values and beliefs. Does this topic or person or belief align with my values, the listener's belief, and what they want to get out of it? And there's been episodes I've filmed which have absolutely flopped, and the guest has given a couple of hours of their time just for a month later for me to be like, I'm sorry, this episode isn't going out because of X, Y. And it's a hard conversation to have because they've been vulnerable in a particular conversation. And this has been a big learning curve I've had to overcome. And how I've overcome it is sticking to my values. Saying no earlier on saves that discomfort in the future. Linking back to your values, your belief systems, that goes to any side business, hobby that you're aiming for as well, is sticking by your values and going from your why is essential. Another difficulty I've faced is my public speaking skills, that facilitating skill. And this doesn't come easy. It was when I finished school, had a lot of filler words, ums, ahs, struggled to get my point across in a way people understand too, which is essential. And this all started to turn around when I joined a public speaking group, Toastmasters. I'm the president of that club, and being in an environment where people are wanting to grow, wanting to enhance their skills in communication, you only pick up from the best. Be surrounded by the people you want to become, and you will pick up those skills as well. My closing thoughts to you is finding your thing isn't about waiting for the perfect idea. It's about trial and error. Finding your thing or your dream business or idea isn't about waiting for the perfect idea. It's about trial and error. Getting back up when you fail is essential, because you are going to fail. I've failed countless times. I've flopped on podcast episodes. I've re-questioned everything, but that's where growth happens. Growth, as we know, doesn't happen when you're comfortable. You've got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to grow. So I want you to challenge yourself by putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, whether that's starting your personal brand, starting that gym vlog, starting your PT brand, or starting to do art or something, whatever floats your boat. Pursue that. Let me know how it's going. I'm here to support you no matter what. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I really hope you got something from this episode, whether it was the framework I've built from with discovering this podcast and how I overcame these challenges. And I'm still learning, I'm still failing, and I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. And it's all about the journey. It's about getting up, keeping that momentum, keeping your why in mind, because keeping your why in mind will allow yourself to have the bigger picture and not be distracted by short-term gratification as well. I challenge you to share this episode with someone that may need to hear it, or you think what I'm preaching is interesting to you and you just want to spread the love of the show. And in return, I will do my best to keep improving this podcast every single day, and I will not stop. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is The Growth Concept, first episode of Authentic Growth. I look forward to seeing you on this next episode. Until then, keep growing.